In November, Alan and I celebrated 5 years on this property, so I thought I'd put together a kennel tour. Now, this building is the house, and it's not much of a house. That's not why we bought the property. It is quite small, but it does suit Alan and I just fine. On the side of the house, we have this tiny little piece of land, and this is a yard that's utilized by our 16-year-old Shih Tzu. So probably sometime in the future we'll develop it a little better. One of the selling points for us was this shop, and the shop has worked out great. We can store the quad and our sleds and a pallet of dog food and all our mushing gear in there. Now, this used to be a horse property, and the previous owner had a corral set up in the circle of trees with 2 horses in it. And right here was a 3-sided shelter for them that we took apart right after we moved on here so that we could utilize the wood for what we needed. Another selling point was this RV structure right next to the shop. And we thought that this would help get the dogs on the property quicker so that we could build off of it and under it. It kind of gave us a jump start. Now, Alan and I didn't have that kind of time back then. So my brother-in-law, Paul, and my sister, Sharon, came out, and they were able to add this structure to the end of the RV structure, and then we were able to drop these kennels underneath it. Now, these kennels are kind of historic. These are Bob Hill's old kennels that he put together back in the 60s, and Lee gave us permission to bring them here. The unfortunate thing was that he soldered them all together, and so they need a flat surface to sit on, and transporting them was a little difficult. So we hacksawed them apart and rented a trailer and brought them over a few panels at a time and put them back together like a big puzzle. But we did not solder them. Instead, we used these sleeves here and just slipped the cut ends into the sleeves. So that's what's holding this together, and it's worked out just fine. At the end of the kennel, and in between the kennel and the house, is what's known as the small dog yard, and this was not fenced off either. So Paul and Sharon also did that. This used to be our main gate here. And this yard gave the dogs about 3 times the amount of room to run in than at the old kennel, which we really liked. And then over there at the back of the house, you can see the little box there, which is actually a whelping box. And that pen, it's a 25 by 25 whelping yard that we built about a year later. On the other side is another gate that goes along the other side of the house where we have a sliding glass door. So we could access the whelping yard very easily, especially at night if we needed to check on pups. Here is what the kennel looks like from the yard here. And as you can see, we are on a hill. So in order to drop those kennels, we had to build up this end. And there's the wood on that wall from the horse structure. And we rented a cat and got some dirt and filled that in and put the kennels underneath. And then Paul had to build these steps so that we could get up and down to the kennel. This is just kind of a single hallway with 5 kennels on either side. And over here we have Mackenzie and Polaris and Osso. And this is an empty kennel. And then we have Holly, who is the grandmother of our newest litter. And then back here on this side on the end is Comet. So those are our original dogs. They are the rec team, which is pretty much a retired team right now. And then here we have Tundra from our first litter and Bounder from our second litter. And then the 2 young boys we have Eagle. He's back there in his box in Orbit's right here at the gate. Now, in between Orbit's and Holly's kennel, we had to drop this gate in here. Otherwise, the dogs could escape, as nothing else was fenced off at that time. About 4 months later, we were able to put in this little piece of fencing and this gate, which became our new main gate. And this is right along the side of the shop. And this table here is the feeding table. This is also this is Lee's old table from her porch at her farmhouse. And then right here is one additional kennel that we put on about a year and a half later. We had to put this up quickly. We used to just store things in here. It was a great way to keep items out from under the rain. So I'll talk about that one in a moment. So back here behind the shop, none of this existed. And we wanted to, this was another farm property, or I'm sorry, a horse property that we wanted to turn into a dog yard. And this is quite large, so this is what we call the large dog yard. And it took us about a month to fence all this off. This was just horse fencing, which we had to change to fencing for the dogs. So after we were here about a year, we decided to do the breeding with Spirit. And Spirit and Rosie are at this time located over here in this extra kennel that we built at last minute. And we ended up having 6 pups, so we had to build 6 kennels. So that's when this structure went up. Now this is built on a slight hill, so you can see the 3 on the left sit up higher than the 3 on the right, so it's kind of a multi-level kennel that worked out really well. And these are all girls in here. So over here we have Quita. She likes the young kennel. And in her box down there is Lizzie. And then right here is Drew. Now, Drew is the cousin. All these girls that are in here are sisters, except for Drew, who is their cousin. And then we have Looker and Joy. And then Faith, who's in her box. So, a week after we finished building these, we went and visited Karen. And that's when we, surprisingly, came home with Drew. So Bounder used to be over here, and we had to kick him out so we could move Drew in with the girls. And that's when we built that extra little kennel that Spirit and Rosie are in now, and moved Bounder in over there. Now this year we decided to do another breeding, so we needed more kennels. So we just added on to the back end of the original older kennels. I didn't want them to stick out quite as far, so I didn't want to take up the dog yard space. So we made them shorter, but we did make them wider. So actually in square footage they are bigger. And this first kennel is the biggest. Now these kennels, the hill is steeper here, so each kennel is at a different level. The first one, we have, the dogs are a little mixed up right now where we got them, but we got Cree sleeping up there. And then the second kennel over here, we got Nezzy. Yes, hi, sweetie. Yeah. And then in the third kennel now, we have Apache. And then in the last kennel, we have the little girls over there. They're sleeping in the box. And that is Anna and Cheyenne. So when you get over to the end, this actually looks kind of neat at night when it's dark and just the light is on. And you can see kind of here too, but the different levels of these kennels. And at night they just look like giant steps. And they are up against the old kennels. There's that wall that we had to build. So when you look in here, many times you'll have dogs at different levels, one sitting up high on their box and one down low. But they can all pretty much see just about all each other, and so it makes for a tight group, and it's worked out really well. Now I think that there is probably some room to build a few more kennels right alongside that wooden wall there, but we probably shouldn't think about that. So here's the fence that separates the small yard from the big yard and the house in the back there. The fence line is here where the berry bushes are at. Don't know if I can pull in the view back there. No, it goes a little blurry, but Mount Hood's right over there. And there's the whole yard. So that's all for now, but there's probably more in the future.